Hi Lee, what's your analysis of the Shrewsbury Town draw a couple of days later, and also reactions to the Liverpool FA Cup draw?
Which one do you want me to go for first, mate?
Shrewsbury Town, let's start with that.
Well, I suppose it rolls into one, doesn't it? I think the Shrewsbury Town game was a tough one. I think that it was on the end of a really difficult set of fixtures, like mentally and emotionally for the boys. I thought they were excellent on the day and looked like a cohesive team. And I was pleased to stay in the hat, to be honest, given what had gone on. I thought we had Jay running on empty, Rowie had got injured before, Fam done fantastically well to do the last. Casey hadn't played in a bit, do you know what I mean? So I was catching up. Centre halves wise, we were hanging in, if you like, with Callas. So, yeah, we wasn't fresh as possible, and so on that point, I was quite pleased that we're still in the hat, and they were able to give it another go. Obviously, the draw was good last night. I was sat on my own in the lounge. I got Izzy, my daughter, doing TikToks in her room, and Nick watching my wife something else, and I'm just shouting Liverpool, Liverpool, to no one, like I've got Tourette's. And I think that's exciting, and again it can bring a boost, you know, like the players perk up, like, wow, Liverpool are pretty much the best side in the world at the moment. I know they've chopped and changed their sort of squads, if you like, for cup games, but I think that the key is that it's a really interesting fixture and one that whets the appetite for the city of Bristol.
Nevertheless, sort of one win in the last 7 games. Where chiefly does the team need to improve beyond obviously scoring more goals and conceding fewer?
Yeah, I think we got to improve. I think there's no doubt in that. From that period of games, I think that I tend to look at it differently a little bit to you. Do you know what I mean? It's your job to present those type of stats. But it's my job to individually analyse and assess on an individual basis, you know. And if I go to the last 2 or 3 games, for example, Charlton, I thought we got back in it great, individual errors, really disappointing, and then an outstanding performance against Luton at home, where, you know what I mean, people can, or we can, or anybody can knock the other team down, but you know what I mean, you've got to play against a championship side that are fighting for their lives, and I thought we were so professional in that game and really assured in everything that we did. And then a write-off game almost after 16, 17 minutes, whatever it was, to a good Brentford side. I suppose that's a disappointing thing because the atmosphere potentially changes. You know, we win that game, we're joint 4th, and the world's our oyster, whereas like the pessimists amongst us will then see that as a negative, and potentially the glass is half empty, if you know what I mean. But we're very, very positive in-house. We know that we've had trials and tribulations to come through, both as individuals and emotionally as a team. And like I say, the rest I think has been really good. I think it's a bit of a reset button, a bit of a freshener for the boys, like physically, emotionally, and we set up what is a really good week, I think, and a tough week, don't get me wrong, but a really good week that we should be going into it as fresh as possible.
Yeah, I don't want to overplay the recent form, and you have had good spells earlier in the season. I just wondered how serious inside the club are taking this recent spell of form. How often do you speak to, like, for example, the board, for example, or Mark?
Yeah, I think we speak on a regular basis. Like, we've got a really, really good relationship, like between myself, Steve Lansdowne, John Lansdowne, Mark Ashton, Doug Harmon, which is the board. Of course, we have robust conversations, but it's all for the greater good. You know, it's all like every decision that we make at this football club is for the long-term prospects and to be beneficial for the owner's mindset, which is like we've moved towards that's a sustainable model while being successful. So, like, yeah, this is a very proud football club, and nobody wants success, I can guarantee you, more than me. for the people, if you like, and for the Bristol City fans. But we're not the finished article by any sense of the imagination. We're not a side that's got 20 to 25 established Premier League / Championship players. We're trying to nurture these boys. Even the side against Shrewsbury was really, really young side, and a lot very, very talented, but very young. And with young players, you're going to make mistakes, and you've got to nurture them through it. You've got to deal with dips in form. You've got to deal with life and the things that life throws at you as individuals. And for what a 21-year-old might have to feel going through a certain situation, that same player at 30 might feel completely different, because obviously he's already gone through that scenario. So yeah, like, to be honest, the mood's really good. Like, it was a great session today. The boys are at, like, sort of like say, the rest was due and needed, and then you have a couple of days, day and a half, and you start getting bored and realise that you love football again and want to come in and see your mates. You know what I mean? And it was a good session today, focused on our communication, but all football. And like I say, we preset and reset, ready for Saturday.
Is the January transfer window is open? Is there anything close to happening in terms of England?
It's very difficult to answer that with total clarity, because, like, obviously I'm involved in the daily interactions, and it's almost like spinning plates, where like one could fall, and that's gone completely because they're not affordable to us or accessible or even available, or something could we lift the plate off and put it in our back pocket because a deal's done. So, like, there's a lot of things going on, both ins and outs, that could be a day, or it could be 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And right on the last day of the window. So I can't give you a defined time scale on when the domino effect starts coming into play.
There's some speculation about Bailey Wright's future at the club. Is he still in your long-term plans?
Well, Bailey's out of contract at the end of the year. So, like, at the moment, the club haven't entered talks into a new one. I think Bailey is a fantastic human, first and foremost, and a very good football player. And like, we have to decide what's right for all parties on that one. So I know there's been interest in him. 5 or 6 clubs have expressed an interest, and it's something that, like, we have to sit down and around a table and decide exactly that, really, what the future is for that one.
Some fans say Bristol City need a ball winner in the middle of midfield. Would you agree with them on that, or do you see that differently?
I can understand where they're coming from. Like, I think that Adam is a good example. Like, his form has been outstanding at times, but his ankle's affecting him. Like, there's no doubt that you look at the Charlton game, first half not great, second half outstanding. Game the other day, like, didn't look like he was getting around the pitch. So we've had a good discussion today on steps to take to make sure his ankle's in a better place, if you know what I mean, than it has been over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And these are the types of things that, like, people would never be able to see, you know what I mean, because it's not really tangible. And if we don't give you the example, like, for when we changed the team, for example, against to bring Corey in for Brentford after a very good Luton performance, that all becomes part of the calculation. But what we're driving towards is obviously a consistency, and at the moment our performances have been too sporadic, both in games, obviously, and over the few.
Would he need an operation or anything like that?
He might do. It's an option. Like, he can play, but he is playing with pain at the moment, and he's still a young player. It's his first real injury. He's new in terms of, like, he's coming across to a completely different culture, and he's a fantastic player. And all we want, of course, is to help him, if you know what I mean, and try and get him into a place where he's the best he can be. But I think Adam's, like, an actual ball winner in terms of his interceptions and his reading of the game. I think Hanoa, yes, he's young, but he makes a lot of interceptions. He's very busy. Corey Smith obviously can win a tackle in midfield, but yeah, of course, there's if you gave me the option of bringing Kante in affordable, then you'd have to look at it.
And just finally, sort of on the recruitment side, just wanted to ask you about recruitment meetings. Do you still have those, and how does it work in terms of do you suggest names, or do you have names suggested to you, and do you decide where the team needs strengthening, or is that a joint decision? How does that work?
It's very free flowing in terms of there's a number of ways an individual name could come to the party. One is data, so statistics. It might be someone that we've never heard of or I've never heard of, but it gets presented because the data analysts have found someone that fits into our game perfectly. It could be that I just fancy someone, or one of my staff or assistants just fancy someone. It might be agent led, in which case often you don't know a certain situation might arise, but an agent awares you of a potential player that might come in, and that is ever evolving and revolving, really, to be honest. And then obviously they have to be affordable, accessible and available in terms of, I mean, they have to fit the wage structure. Mark Ashton has to do his thing, but it's very fluid. I get involved in certain areas, it will cross over, but the final say in terms of selection is down to me. Well, you could say it's always down to Lansdowne in the end, because at the end of the day it's them that will say yes or no. But in terms of the football, not the finances, then it will always be down to. And this is the bit that's the challenge with this football club, because there's three parts to this football club really. One is win the league by 20 points, which we're desperately trying to do. Two is develop 11 sort of homegrown Bristol-born players, and three is trade towards sustainability, if you know what I mean. So, like between those three areas, we've got to try and do a bit of everything, and that obviously is developing our own. That's developing the players that we've bought, the likes of Masengo, Eliasson, for example, to either take us to a point where we're good enough to get promoted, or to trade to then go again. And then obviously you have the fact that you need some ready-made players, if you like, that are going to limit mistakes and be secure at the level, if you know what I mean, in every way.
Has anyone replaced Mervyn Day in the end? There's a few rumours from City fans that Pete Johnson might come in. That's probably
no.
Wild rumour.
I can assure you that's a wild rumour. There seems to be a lot of wild rumours at the moment. No, it's not going to work like that. It's like, again, it's Mark Ashton's field. It's a better question for him, really. But at the same time, I think he would describe it as a wheel, really, as a recruitment wheel, and he's the glue, if you like, that sits in the middle of it. But at the same time, there are experts in their field dropping players in. But it's not easy, because to get better than what we've got for what we can afford is not easy, because, like I say, we're not one of the highest resourced clubs, if you like, in terms of wages in the division.
Also, what's the plan for Luke Williams has left? Is Alex going to stay in charge of the under-23s? Any decision made?
No decision made yet. It's a conversation that probably will be had after January, and like the whole structure of it again needs to be probably looked at just for the right reasons. You know, we've got some great people in the academy, and it may be that other coaches can step up or can move certain people into certain roles. But yeah, for sure, there's probably one or two spots, if you like, that we need to fill in those areas. Just
final question for myself. Wigan at the weekend, just one win in their last 15 league games. How do you see that challenge coming up?
Been playing well, mate. They've been playing some very. I would like looking at the games. I would probably say that they've been playing as well as a Paul Cook Wigan side's played in the Championship. So they're a good side. But I think they'll be thinking the same about us. Do you know what I mean? They'll be looking at our game saying, well, hold on a minute, Sheffield Wednesday, refereeing decision. Charlton could have gone each way. Luton, fantastic. Do you know what I mean? Brentford right off after 20 minutes. So, like, I think it's a typical Championship game. I think that I'm looking forward to the week, because it's going to be an interesting week and a challenging week, but we want to make it a great week.
How have you been? Because you talk about the players, and obviously I know there's the young lads and keeping them, but like, how have you been?
Yeah, I'm all right. I love my job. So, like, for me, like, I've had a cold, like everybody had at Christmas. Do you know what I mean? I'd done Christmas dinner, which was probably the hardest bit of the whole Christmas period. Not for many, for 7, but still enough. And I'd done that as well, by the way. No one else. So, look, I think, like, for me, I'm frustrated because you want to be, like I say, I want to give what the people want, and that is, like, a brand of football that we all know and love. Goals, success. Do you know what I mean? There's nobody more desperate to bring that to the people than me. But at the same time, this 2 days has been good for me to sort of reflect, assess, like, look from a distance, take out the lessons, if you like, personally, but also as a team, and then come back like refreshed, the best face in the room, if you know what I mean, in terms of seeing the boys this morning and making sure it's really bright and bubbly.
How aware are you, the players, of kind of some of the conversations being had outside the club from supporters? All of them, but the less good ones.
Not very aware, to be honest. Like, you can imagine, because, do you know what I mean, football's football and the way it is now, and there's so many media streams, and you good people have got to hit targets, and to do that you have to sensationalise or speak to agent or whatever you've got to do. But for us, it's about getting the process right and controlling what we can control. Do you know what I mean? And that is learn your lessons from the past, but moving into the future, it can be affected in a positive way. So, like, again, like, I suppose, there's always the question mark as why a good run, a bad run, blah, blah. Is that Lee Johnson? Is that young players? Is that the fact that the Championship's competitive? I don't suppose we'll ever truly know until the situation changes, i.e. we get 17, 30-year-olds or Lee Johnson go, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, like, for me, it's a competitive league, and depending on whether you see the glass half full or half empty, then we're in a position for the last 20-odd games to go and be fire ourselves, you know what I mean, and our destiny's in our own hands. And I think, truth be told, is probably about right. However we've got there, like, if the games would have been spread or whatever, wins, losses, and it had been evened out, sort of that sort of group that you see, the top 2 and then the sort of 10 or 11 under that, and that is going to jostle, without doubt, that everybody's jostling for position. You see Reading now going on a decent run. You know what I mean? There's good teams in this division, and you've got to be consistent, and consistency comes down to injury, team selection, form. Do you know what I mean? Getting that bit of luck along the way. So for me, it's quite simple. Like, we go and win the game. The next game that's available to us, we do everything we can to try and win the next football match, knowing that we could beat top of the league and you could lose the bottom of the league, and then you have to refresh and quickly go again and bounce back in this division.
Do you, just going back to that, do you kind of try and insulate the players, maybe, because of the noise?
I think it's difficult. Listen, I don't know. Me personally, it doesn't affect me now. It may have done when I started playing. You know what I mean? I'm very, how do you say, the right word is philosophical, if you like, about noise, because I know how it works. You know what I mean? I know how media have to earn money for their kids. I know how to eat. I know how social media works. For me, like, talking about a wider sort of society issue, I fear for the children of today. I really do, because I feel like a bullying, do you know what I mean, type mentality can be constant now, 24 hours, and you've only got to look at like suicide and stuff like that, and the rates going up. Like when I was a kid, all right, somebody put it on you at school, maybe you felt a little bit bullied. By the time you got home, you was in the loving care of your parents, no phones, and that was it. Well, now this can be like constant, do you know what I mean? And bringing it back round to football players, like you've got to try and help the players be as consistent as possible, because I can't be with them every minute of every day. So I know how it affected me when I was a player, like negativity, and now it's a lot more accessible and open. So if a player, and it works both ways, if you're a player A and you score the winner against Liverpool, and you're the best player that's ever played for Bristol City, and you know what I mean, I want your babies and everything that goes along with that, and you know the type of comments that come out, you're a legend, blah blah blah, hero, and then all of a sudden, like 6 weeks later, you score an own goal in a league game, or you make a mistake and get out of my club, you're the worst player. We've had situations this year where parents of players have been vilified, do you know what I mean, for loving their kids. So like, I don't think this changes. This is not a Bristol City thing. This is a society thing. So, like, everybody demands now instant information, instant success, instant knowledge. Everybody wants to be able to get one up on everybody else. Some people, dare I say it, take pleasure from other people's failure and can't sort of come off the bandwagon on times like that. So, for me, like any microclimate, and football is a microclimate, and Bristol is a microclimate, will always echo society and where we are with it. And I think for the likes of myself, all I can do is be consistent with my players and make sure that they know that we're here for them if ever they need anything, and that we believe in them. And I think that's all you can ask for. And if it does affect you, social media or the noise, as you put it, then don't listen. And,
I mean, is it
control the
clubs work to kind of coach players and such? I don't know if that's the right word, but...
I think it's a really good shout. I think that you try and give the tools, if you like, to get through it and to get over it. But again, society is very different now in every generation. You know, we're all like, my great-granddad said my granddad had it easy, and my granddad said my dad had it easy, and my dad said I had it easy, and I'm saying that to my little girl. Do you know what I mean? So that's how like society and life, particularly in England, evolves. So I think it's something that we've got to be aware of. I really do, because like it can really affect, like particularly it can affect any player. I mean, like I say, like you've only got to look at the suicide rate of the pressures now that come into people in their daily lives, and all football does is it magnifies those pressures, because like everybody's passionate about what is a very passionate game.
I guess the obvious question is there a player right now in the squad who's been, at least one player who's been affected?
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah, there would have been. Yeah, absolutely. It's nothing that we can't cope with. Do you know what I mean? And we're, like I say, we're there to support and to nurture, really. But I've no doubt, if you're asking me, I couldn't give you a specific situation, but if you were asking me, has a social media comment made a player feel down? Yeah, of course it has.
Yeah.
Like it's probably happened to every single player that's on social media, or that's talked about. Look at Ash Williams, just as an example, because he's an experienced player, and some of the media comments that would have gone about him before he come to Bristol City. Do you know what I mean? And that was like negative, he's finished, he's washed up, blah blah. Well, how's that feel? Well, what he's done is he's had the strength of character to go and play, do you know what I mean, at a football club where he's now celebrated as being an outstanding player. So again, it's about fighting through it sometimes. And these boys, I always say to them, look, you haven't come this far to only come this far, so don't let people take your lunch, and you know what I mean, and control what you can.
Just to change direction slightly, you mentioned about Nicholas. Is there any news on his contracts What's the deal? Because I know he's got the year extension, but has it been activated or?
Yeah, I think that goes without saying that'll be activated. Yeah.
There's no there's no uncertainty.
Yeah, the way I would see it is he's got 18 months left on his
Right,
contract.
okay,
So if you want to report anything, just report he's got 18 months left on his contract, and we'd absolutely love him to sign a new contract. I think again sometimes people.
Beyond the 18 months.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We'd love him to do that. You know what I mean? We value him hugely. Like the stages that he's come through from where we signed him from to where he is now is credit to him, but also credit to everybody at Bristol City Football Club in terms of, and I mean everybody that have daily contact with him. Physically, he's increased by about, I think, 16 to 18% since he first came in. Like we talked about, I had the discussion with the judo coach and using his body better. Tactically, he's improved dramatically. He's always had that USP of the amazing delivery, but now he's starting to get into better areas, both in terms of goal scoring areas and upgrading crosses, and like he's not the finished article, but when Nicholas Lyson is 27, he's going to be amazing. Do you know what I mean? But that's where we are. Probably at 27, unless we're in the Premier League, there's probably a good chance he won't be here. So, you know what I mean? We have to polish, if you like, the diamond into a top one, and I think he can be. And I think sometimes people think that maybe there's an issue between like me and him. I've got nothing but love for him. I think it was very clear why I took him off. For anybody that truly knows football against in the home game, because we were down to 10 men. We wasn't. Brentford were going to have 70% of the ball, and we've got two better wingers to run back and to get closer to the forward to try and nick a goal. Who's Nicholas going to cross it to? No one. Because he's not going to get on the far post like Marley Watkins or Andy Vyman would. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think that proved, because for that sort of 60 minutes after we conceded the second goal, I thought we was actually really, really good, and we had more box entries than Brentford, and the boys like truly showed a lot of guts.
Have there been any talks? Have you sat down with them at all? Or was it just kind of
we're discussing. Yeah, he changed his agents, which we've been sitting down and talking about it from the start of the summer. So it's not a case of then agents change, and do you know what I mean, various priorities come in between that. But the simple stance is we'd love him to stay longer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And obviously you know that in any negotiation it takes time, but currently he's got 18 months left on his contract, and we'd love to see it be extended.
Cheers,
okay,
yeah,
thank you. Cheers.